Hey everybody, good morning. Back for another video. This time I'm going to present what I think is a very different and unique take on the abortion thing. I've been digging into a lot of statistics and wanted to be as fair and accurate about this as possible. So digging right in. I think it starts with looking at, you know, our existence and how we view life and ourselves, whether we're aware of it or not. One view we've been told in schools, we're just kind of a random act of sludge somehow turning into more complex things. The other one is the other view of the universe is really that God created us intentionally. And if you look at scriptures like Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created man in His own image. He created us and in His own image." John 3:16, just how loved and valuable we are. Um, we sinned. We are reconciled through Him sending His Son Christ in a very loving action to redeem us of our sin. Let's love. And then Psalm 139:13, talking about how He made our inward parts and saw us. So there's two contrasting things. One, we're the result of this loving God who created us, or random and we have no purpose and we're just here just cause. So I think it's important that as the random active sludge view has gotten stronger over the past 50 years, we don't value life as much. So I think that's a little bit just good to point out how we view life and our existence matters with this abortion thing too. If we see ourselves as being valuable, we see everyone and everything as being valuable. Okay, that's number one. Number two, a little history really quick. 1960s was kind of a turning point, but we separated sex from marriage. Beforehand, that's what sex was for, is the confines of marriage. That's when we did that. And then the sexual revolution changed that to where he said, okay, yeah, maybe not always within that. You can do it whenever you want to do it, and more about ourselves. And it really became an idol starting at that point. In the 70s and 80s, you can see it in the music and the movies and how they view it. Is sex taboo outside of marriage, or is it okay? If you watch movies and ask yourself, what's the message about what sex is, we see that it gradually became more and more okay to be outside of marriage. If you look at movies before that, it was less okay. It was more, but no, this is what you do in marriage. So to this point now, we are in 2024. If you're a younger audience watching, you may not know that history. Now it's just like, well, if you want to do it, you can do it whenever. So that hasn't always been the case. So starting in the 60s, that's the key turning point. And I'll put a reference in here by Nancy Pearcey, a great book that talks more about that. Okay, number three, definition of life. And we're talking about people, babies, old people, life in general. What determines it? Well, breathing, heartbeat, right? Pretty simple. Breathing, well, baby depends on placenta and mom to breathe. There's not breathing outside. So that one's off the books. That one's a no. Heartbeat, from everything I've been looking at, around 5 weeks, which is usually before most people can get pregnancy tests done. So really, the heart is beating. There's life, and that's very clear. There's a beating heart. We've got life. So I think that one is really clear too. But I mean, I would even say it's conception at that point too. Anyhow, but just factually speaking, heartbeat 5 weeks. I dug into also about reasons why pregnancies are terminated. I'm not going to even just say women do it because I think men are a part of this too, frankly. So for all kinds of things, reasons and this and that, and health to mom. The facts are, when I looked at big systematic reviews, on just thousands of people, the best research, and I'll put some references in here later. Number one is it really does come down to convenience and change of life, about 75-80%. It's just not convenient. And granted, a lot of these folks, and usually it's young women, are in situations that are super overwhelming, so fair enough. But adoptions is a reasonable option. But yeah, it's usually due to convenience. The threat to mother and health came at 13% from, like I said, the best reviews that I could find. The rape and incest is usually one thrown out there too. I don't know why that one's even part of the conversation, because that shouldn't change how we define whether there's a value to that baby in there or not. I get it that it's more psychologically difficult for the mom, for sure. That's a reality, but anyhow, that really shouldn't change. So health to mother is about 13%. So really, largely these are situations where it's just not convenient. You just don't want it. And to me, that's not responsible use. Just because you don't want this life, you have the right to end it is not right. That's not justifiable to me, just because it's not convenient. Anyhow, another study was damages to mom. Looked into that too. Is there really risks to her? I looked at depression as one of the factors I looked at. Yeah, it's amazing how even the research has gotten tainted. It's interesting and twisted. I won't get into all that. But really, the bottom line, the best systematic reviews I could find, looking at hundreds of articles, the bottom line takeaway, certainly there's some mixed nature to this, but it seemed clear that women typically have depression after a normal birth about 20% of the time. And then after an abortion, though, there's more like 35 to 40%, sometimes plus that, but definitely more. Am I going to pin that just, is it fair to pin that just on the nature of having an abortion? Maybe not. I think that's not fair to say that. There's a lot of factors in there. There's a lot of trauma that goes into these situations. Couple of things that jumped out to me. Where are the dads? Why are they not part of the discussion as far as what happens to this baby? They're half the chromosomes are there too. So that's not part of the discussion typically. I wanted to throw that out there. So second thing is, it's interesting to know that there's a homicide law in California, at least, maybe other states, where if you kill the mom and baby that's in there, say there's some murder or homicide there, the person who does that has double homicide. However, if the baby wasn't wanted, then it becomes just a single homicide. It's like, how does just a choice whether it's convenient or you want that baby determine its value? Either it has value and life is valuable or it's not. So that seems really hypocritical just from a logical standpoint. Either it does or it doesn't. Anyhow, so what's the solution to this? So sadly, we don't want these things to happen. I'm glad I'm alive, and I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're glad you're alive too. So we want to value, the society is, I think, judged a lot of times by how we value life and care for people around us. So what's the solution? I think that to try to end this is the best solution. So a couple ways of doing that. One, I think we bring back to the fact that, yeah, sex is for marriage. I think that tends to be a part of our culture and needs to be talked about. Second, a lot of trauma came up around the moms who were involved with abortions in these situations. And I think addressing the ACEs score, which is trauma score, and really trying to find help is also really, really important because these young women are in really tough circumstances. So I think those are the two keys about how do we move forward to help some of this. And at the root, like, how do we make those things happen? How do we lower trauma? And how do we make sex become back conjoined together with marriage again? I think number one, I think bringing more about God and who he is and how he created us back into church, school, home, back to mainstream again. And that's not a violation of separation of church and state, by the way, because that wasn't the intent, but that's a different story. But the second thing is having good, strong families, parents that know how to work through conflict calmly and can stay together. So stable families, and bringing God back into the fabric of our lives again. I think if we have those things, we'll see our value, that we're loved, we're created, life matters. And that's, I think, at the root of it. So anyhow, thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up, subscribe if you're liking the content of these, and I'll keep putting out more. I enjoy doing them. Thank you.